Fans have wanted to learn more about the upcoming Jon Snow spin-off series since its initial announcement. While most of the details have still been kept under wraps, we can speculate a couple of interesting details about the series. In today's video, we'll go over its possible release date and cast, and also discuss what some Game of Thrones cast members have had to say about it. So let's dive right in. Starting off, what's a possible release date for the series? Currently, we've not been given any official release schedule by HBO. This is understandable though, since the series looks like it's in the very early stages of development. While HBO may have kept things quiet, we can still speculate what the possible release date for the series may look like. With House of the Dragon's second season releasing sometime in 2024, it's fair to say that the Snow sequel will be coming out even later. Our best bet would be that the show will be released in 2025, and that's assuming there aren't any delays or other issues on the way. That said, Game of Thrones fans don't need to worry. There are tons of spin-offs on the way that will definitely keep them entertained while they wait. Besides the Snow spin-off, there's also the Hedge Knight and the Sea Snake series, which HBO is currently working on. We're also getting a Princess Nymeria prequel called 10,000 Ships. Apparently there are some animated shows in the works too. It's fair to say we're going to have our plates lined with Game of Thrones content for many years to come. It helps that George R.R. Martin is involved with all these projects, which is probably a good indication in terms of their quality. Most of these shows though are still years ahead of us. They're likely still getting their scripts written. At most, some of them may have the outlines and structures for their episodes being worked on, but that's about it. Next up, who's being cast in the Snow spin-off? So far, the only star that we know is attached to the project is Kit Harrington. None of the other Game of Thrones stars have yet confirmed their involvement with the series. In fact, some of them have even outright denied it. During a recent interview, Emilia Clarke stated that she won't return as Dany, although at another point she did say never, so we think there's always a possibility of her return. While Game of Thrones ended with her death, it seems likely that the Jon Snow spinoff will have at least a cameo of her in some way. The story seems centered on Jon, but we may also get to see some of the other Stark kids. This includes Arya, Sansa, and Bran. Last we saw of Arya, she set sail to find out what's west of Westeros. Maybe she'll return from her journey and reunite with Jon in some way. It'd be cool if the writers made better use of Bran's three-eyed raven abilities and had him communicate with Snow throughout the series. That'd be a neat way to continue to showcase their Stark connection, despite the fact that they are almost a continent apart from one another. Grey Worm star Jacob Anderson was also asked if he'd return for the series. He mentioned that the only way he could return was to kill Jon. We don't think Grey Worm would fit in the upcoming Snow series narratively, so it's probably best that he gets left out. Fans have also been wondering if other fan favorite characters could make a comeback. Plus, what's the story going to be about? There aren't too many details about the show available yet, and so it's tough to really narrow down what the plot for the series will be. That said, it seems like it's going to be very much about Jon, though considering the show is literally called Snow, this shouldn't surprise anyone. Jon seems to be dealing with the lingering trauma he's still got following the events of Game of Thrones. It's clear that the show's finale had a huge deal of impact on him, and he's not over what he did to Dany and all the events that transpired afterward. Snow looks like he'll have to not only deal with his past, but also brave a new set of challenges awaiting him beyond the wall. The writers probably have some decent ideas as to where they should take this story, otherwise they really wouldn't have even considered making a spin-off in the first place. Some fans were hoping they'd somehow reveal that the Night King was still alive. This would allow Jon to regain some of his glory by being the one to take him down. Not to mention, can the Jon Snow sequel fix the character? Ever since the conclusion of Game of Thrones, fans have been pleading with HBO to remake the final 2 seasons. Many even signed petitions, with the most popular ones getting millions of signatures. It's clear that just about everyone hated the last 2 seasons, and most of this was because of how bad the writing was. While many characters were done dirty, it's hard not to feel dissatisfied with Jon's conclusion. From the start of the show, it seemed like the writers were making him look like the prophesized Azor Ahai, or the prince that was promised. His character seemed to fill all the requirements, and the fact that he came back to life from the dead made it seem like it would be him. But for the sake of a twist, Arya ended up being the one to kill the Night King, making all the hype and anticipation that fans had gone to waste. People have been unsure what Jon's purpose in the story was after that, besides killing Dany and randomly shouting at dragons. Because of this, the spin-off series might be the perfect opportunity to redeem his character somewhat. For most fans, it'd serve as a great reminder of why they all liked Jon in the first place, and more importantly, it'd give the writers the ability to make him important once again. There's also the chance that if the series performs well, we may be getting spin-offs that could fix some other characters too. Moving on, the show was actually Kit's idea. If you're wondering if this series is just another attempt at making a cash grab by HBO, we don't really blame you. They've been pumping out Game of Thrones spin-offs and prequels left and right, and it's obvious that not all of these are going to be hits, but don't worry, that's not the case with the Snow series. In fact, the show wasn't even HBO's idea. It seems Kit himself approached HBO and showcased the idea to them. George revealed on his website that the series is very much Kit's brainchild. He brought his own people and crew and pitched the idea to the network, and it seems they were on board. Martin didn't really mention what writers or showrunners were working on it, but it seems they're all great. It's a team that Kit assembled, so we're hoping he managed to find the best of the best. They all seem to have gotten Martin's seal of approval, so we're not too worried. Plus, it's amazing to see Kit be this excited to return to his iconic role. He did have a bit of a tough time after the end of Game of Thrones. It was mostly because his long-standing role in the series was coming to a close, but we're sure the fan vitriol and dislike for the ending couldn't have helped. And so we're hoping that he can redeem his character somewhat through this spin-off. Fans have shown with the House of the Dragon series that they're willing to let bygones be bygones if the content is actually good. Up next, what has Emilia Clarke said about the show? Dany was probably the character that got screwed over the hardest in the Game of Thrones finale. Not only was her character turned into a genocidal maniac over the course of 2 episodes, but after everything she'd given, she was killed off. It's no surprise fans were completely unhappy. It's possible that her character's downfall into madness may have made sense if it was done over the course of a couple of seasons, but the rushed version we got in the final season was just an injustice to Dany. Because of this, people have really been wishing that Emilia could somehow return to the Jon Snow series. Yes, she's dead, but this is Game of Thrones after all. We've seen characters come back from the dead before. Emilia teased fans in an interview earlier this year, which we talked about a bit earlier in the video. She kept things vague, but said that we should never say never, but that's about as optimistic of an update as we're going to get. It's tough to say just what her role in the show could be, even if she returns, though we're anticipating at least one flashback of Jon as he looks back to the time he spent with Dany and their unfortunate conclusion. Finally, Jon Snow is not okay in the Game of Thrones spin-off. Harrington recently revealed that Jon Snow isn't doing too well in the upcoming Jon Snow sequel. While many fans had hoped that he'd get to fly off into the sunset after everything he had to deal with, it's obvious that the world of Game of Thrones just doesn't allow for such happy endings. It seems that Jon is still dealing with the trauma he's got lingering around. Kit told Entertainment Weekly that Jon wasn't okay. Going beyond the wall might look like a great gift given to him, but it also seems to be his greatest curse. It's great that he got to live and walk the world as a free man, but he's living with the thoughts of everything that happened to him, and that's leading to a lot of trauma and pain. He's having thoughts of how he killed Dany and how Ygritte died in his hands. He's also dealing with the fact that he hung Ollie. Even for someone on Game of Thrones, that's a lot of stuff to deal with, so we can understand why Snow may not be doing so well. Hopefully he's able to find some solace over the course of the show. But that's a wrap for this video, my friends. What are your thoughts on the upcoming Jon Snow sequel? Comment below, give this video a thumbs up, and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.